Good morning and welcome, friends. Let's start our class off today with a prayer together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Guru Preceptors, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswarji, beloved Master Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, we bow at thy feet. We ask thy presence and thy blessings on this satsang today as we seek to attune ourselves to thee. Om Shanti Shanti. Let's hear a song by Swamiji and then a brief excerpt from a talk by him. The topic today is 12 Signs of Spiritual Progress. Welcome again, friends.
Dare to be different, dare to be free, dare to roam far like wind on the sea, fly like a gull, soar high on the air, be strong in your courage when others despair. Never in anger, never in haste, go without pride, be never abased. Freedom is yours, if freedom you'll give, to all give it freely, in freedom you'll live. Mountains that stand up tall to the sky, tell us no dreaming is ever too high. Dare to defy them, brave that high peak, you'll never know failure if bravely you seek. Dare to be different, dare to be free, dare to roam far like wind on the sea, fly like a gull, soar high on the air, be strong in your courage when others despair.
When you pray with love, when you pray, He answers you according to what you've asked. He answers you according to the energy you put out. And if you're sitting there, on the one hand, saying, God, I want to see you. God, I want to become a saint. God, I want to advance spiritually. And in the background of your mind, half of you is saying, you? You a saint? Oh, don't kill me with laughter, you know. Then it isn't. You have to convince yourself, just as Master said, convince yourself you can paint. Convince yourself that you're a saint. But not, I'm a saint. It wouldn't work that way either if you said, I'm a painter. But to get yourself in tune with that kind of consciousness means to put yourself wholly into it. And it's not humility to say anything less. St. Teresa of Avila said that she never wanted to hear her nuns say, as an excuse, I'm no saint. She said, you've come here to become saints. Don't accept anything less than that. And even when you make mistakes, say, okay, I made a mistake, but I'm going to keep on trying. Even if you fall flat on your nose, get up and say, I'm going to keep on trying, because you are not anything but the divine image within you. And so if you can, with affirmation, bring yourself to that point where all your energy is going in one direction and isn't paralyzed either with restlessness and other desires and things that siphon your energy off in other ways, or paralyzed with the thought that, well, this isn't me. All the spiritual path, in a sense, is convincing yourself that it is you. But you'll find that it only happens as you allow Him to filter into the picture too. You can't do it on your own. People who do it on their own and don't introduce this new understanding constantly into the picture never understand. You can't, in other words, hypnotize somebody and tell him you're a saint and have him really be a saint. He may believe it, but it won't work. It's got to be the other side too, and the other side in the last analysis is everything. All we've really done, in a sense, is get ourselves out of the way so that that can happen. All we've really done is pull apart the curtains, draw apart the curtains so that the sunlight can come in. But we've got to do that much. The sun isn't going to burst its way through those curtains. You have to do that work. So affirmation and prayer, and knowing, you have to know God's will by attuning yourself to it, by listening, by being willing to do anything that God wants, and at the same time, put yourself behind whatever you do. Enthusiasm is one of the most important and wonderful qualities. And that's again where Master's teaching, the greater the will, or in this context, the willingness, or again, even further, the enthusiasm, because enthusiasm is just intense willingness. Willingness alone might be even considered a bit passive, but you, with enthusiasm, be willing in a positive, joyful, creative way, then you'll find that nothing can stop you.
Good morning again, everyone. This is such a great topic. I remember one time Swamiji Kriyanandaji said to me, to become a saint. And I just looked at him like, that's not possible. But he didn't care. He said that to all of us, to become saints and to work at it. And don't say, I can't be, I can't change my attitudes, I can't change my behaviors, it's too difficult. And one other thing he said to me once was when I was struggling with something, and I believe he really helped me to get over it. And I went to Swamiji, I said, thank you so much, Swamiji. And he looked at me and said so deeply, Dhyana, Master's helping you. And I think that's the thing, both of those, but that particularly we need to remember that Master's helping us. We do the best we can. We put out the most energy. We try to change ourselves the best we can. But really, it's Guru's grace and God's grace that come in and change us. And like when Swamiji, Master told him to work on some particular thing, and I think it was devotion, and Swamiji was feeling more and more like he was understanding and getting the point and changing himself, and that he changed himself. And so then he heard Master was talking to some of the monks at one point, and he said, Master told them, look how I have changed Walter, which is what he called Swamiji. Look what I have done to him. And we have to realize 25% we put in, the Master's great good karma he gives to us, that's 25%, and 50% is God's grace being poured into us. And we have to also remember it's a formula that Master gave. If we do everything, he said, do 1/100th of what I've given you. But there's so many parts of it. Some people are better at satsang. Some people are better at chanting. Some people are more into meditation. Some people more serviceful. But we have so many things that change us. Every time we chant, every time we serve, every time we do an affirmation, every time we're studying, every time we're together, every time we're online, every time we go to Kriya, every Kriya that we do, Om, Hangsa, it's all changing us. And we have to realize that that's happening. And sometimes we don't see the change. I used to look at all my old pictures and I tell you to do the same. Look back at how you used to look 5 years ago. If you just got on the path, look 1 year ago. If you've been on the path for a while, look 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you completely changed. Remember, Devi Ji said that she told Swamiji, they were talking in the car going somewhere, and he was talking about spiritual change and how people make progress. And she said, gee, I don't think I made any progress. And Swamiji said very strongly, what are you saying? You're a completely different person. And I think all of us have to realize that these inner changes make us completely different. Master said you won't even be able to recognize yourself. You'll be so changed. And we have to know that that's happening. And the other thing is sometimes changes are slow. Sometimes it depends on what it is. Sometimes karma is so heavy, it takes you a longer time. But in a moment, God can take that away from you. In a moment, in a day, Master said habits can be changed. So you can't go looking every day, thinking that you're completely changed every day. This is a long rhythm, and it's like not a sprint, but it's a long race that you have to just keep going and not going out looking every day. Okay, like you plant a seed, you go, oh, is it growing? Is it growing? Is it growing? Is it growing? Just let it grow and put your energy into doing the things that Master gave, and then you'll change. And I love the story of the man who was, his guru didn't allow him to come into the satsangs, the meditations, various things that he was having. He had this man just carrying wood for the fire, for the stove, and he didn't allow him to come in. So this went on for a long time. Swamiji used to tell us this story quite often to encourage us. And then one day he was picking up some wood and some of his hair got caught in the wood, and he saw his hair had turned completely white. And he realized he had come as a young man. He was there all those years, and he felt like nothing had happened. And he started to weep. And his guru came out running, and he held his hand under the tears, and he said, you don't know what you've achieved. If even one drop of your tears would fall to the ground, there would be famine for years and years. You don't know what you've achieved. How do we know what we've achieved? Only Master and the gurus know. And the other beautiful story from Chaitanya's life, Chaitanya, that one day the disciples were asking him when would they find God, and he would tell this one maybe some years from now, 1 year, 5 years, whatever. And his foremost disciple came and asked him, and he said, oh my God, it's going to be 1,000 years for you. And the man just left, and all the other brother disciples were thinking, God, we thought he was advanced. And they went to console him, and the man was out. He had left the house. He was out on the porch, and they all came out and they saw him dancing in joy. And they said, brother, have you not heard what the Master said? It's going to take you 1,000 more years to find God. And he said, brothers, have you not heard the Master said, I will find God? And that was the most important thing for him. And the guru came out then and touched him. And in that moment, that man found God. And the guru said, I just wanted you all to see what a true disciple spirit is. And so for all of us, we keep going, we keep trying, we do everything Master said, and we let the guru be the guru. How can you be the guru? And just keep moving, and we will find that we're going toward the exit door. I love to keep that in mind. Whatever is happening, we have a direction that's going up and towards God. It's not going down, it's going up. And as Swamiji said on the talk, you fall, you get up and keep going. You make a mistake, you get up and you keep going. So I want to go through now, and I'm just going to read these out. 12 signs of spiritual progress from Masters and Swamiji's teachings that I've read and heard. And these will be in the chat afterwards. But you might just, as I go down these, just in your mind, just think, are you headed in that direction? Is that something you feel deep inside yourself? And others, you may feel like, oh God, I really need to work on that. And I'm not giving this list like you have to do all these to find God. It's up to Master when you find God, let's face it. But these are things we can at least aspire to doing. So the first one, an overall feeling of detachment from the world. You have less worldly pulls, attachments, and desires. They're less than they were before. Second one, God is more the center of your life than anything or anyone else. Like Master's chant, I have made thee pole star of my life. You think of God with you and call on him all the time. Number 3, there's an openness to doing God and Guru's will, not your own. There's a willingness to listen and take guidance about that. The next one. There's enthusiasm and willingness, and you find yourself saying yes to life much more than no. The next, there's humility. You see God as the doer. The next one, there's servicefulness to others. There's a strong desire to serve God and Guru and to help others rather than just yourself. Next, there's a seeking and a longing for spiritual company, reading spiritual books, going to spiritual satsangs, uplifting talks. Next, there's harmony and cooperation in your life, and less, meaning in you, and less negative reactions. Next, you're more centered in the self with the capital S. There are less emotions like moods, worries, fears, and doubts. And the last three, there's a feeling of joy inside during all times, even in difficult ones. There's an underlying feeling of the joy of the soul. You might find yourself singing in your heart all the time. Next, there's a deep faith in God, or growing faith in God and gurus, that God is with you and guiding your life and master. And finally, there's a feeling of being drawn to more sadhana and seclusion and spending time with God alone. And I'll close now with Swamiji's words on signs of spiritual progress from the Raja Yoga book. These are more from inner spiritual progress in meditation. God comes to the soul in different ways as light, sound, love, peace, intense calmness, power, wisdom, or divine joy. One who sees lights may have visions of saints and angels or of the astral world. One who hears sounds may hear astral music or the sounds of the spinal centers. One who feels love may find tears flowing inadvertently in meditation. One who feels peace will feel as though he was drinking it in pure life-giving draughts. One who feels calmness, the positive aspect of peace, may feel his consciousness expanding as if into a vast hall. One who feels divine power will be made intensely aware that God alone is the doer, that man's own power is simply non-existent. One who experiences wisdom may develop deep insight into any question he asks of God, or he may know himself inwardly as the undying self. And one who experiences divine joy will never want for anything else. Finally, never compare yourself with others, lest you fall into either discouragement or pride. Don't even dwell too much on the signs of spiritual progress, as I have described them here. I have but scratched the surface. God, who is infinite, can come to the soul in an infinity of ways, as exquisite smells as 1,000 sweet tastes crushed into one, as divine instruction, as the purest divine merriment, as the tenderest imaginable forgiveness, Each soul's relationship with the infinite is unique. Compare yourself not with others, but only with your own self. Do you love God more now than you used to? Are you developing even-mindedness? Are you more inwardly contented and joyful, or at least happy? Are you renouncing self-will? Do you want to serve and please only God? If your answer to these questions is yes, and if you can add to your answer the wish to grow daily in these sublime virtues, know that God and Guru must be well pleased with you. Offer yourself into their arms. They will bear you surely and swiftly to the divine shores. I'll ask Nitendra to come on screen now. We have just a few questions today.
Thank you, Dhyanaji. Let me share the list of questions. The first one, Dhyanaji, is that I may think that I am progressing spiritually, but it might not be so, because it could be only from my perspective. So is it good to talk with others about this, and maybe with someone who I respect?
Yes, those who you respect, but not just others. I know some people flaunt. I saw this, I went into the spiritual eye, I did this, I did that, I did this in meditation. Master said, don't share your deep experiences, your meditation experiences with others. You can share them with your advisor or your charya, but don't go out, I've done this, I've done that. And these things are so sacred that as soon as you talk about them, it seems like you lose them. You lose some of the power of them. So don't talk about it too much. Now, sometimes you think you're progressing and you may or you may not be. What I come back to is the feeling in my heart without emotion. Do I feel Master's pleasure? After serving somewhere, doing something, do I feel he's happy? I ask him, is this pleasing to you, Master? And if you do that, you can't help but feel a confirmation of what you're doing, the direction you're going in. You can ask others you respect, but more than anything, deep within yourself, there's a yes or there's a no. When you're going wrong, you certainly feel, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I remember Swamiji at a huge lecture in Ananda village. There were 200 or 300 people there. He stopped in the middle of his talk and he said, Master's not pleased with me saying this. And then he changed the topic. I said, wow, that's courageous for him to be truthful, for him to say that, dharmic. So you'll feel when it's right and when it's not. I think the problem more is people don't listen to it. If you feel it's wrong and you keep doing it, what do you expect? And the other thing is look around in your life. Are people more drawn to you? Are they less drawn to you? Do people enjoy being with you in satsang and company? Do you have less and less people who want to come around? Are there signs of kindness in your life and caring for others? Forgiveness? I mean, these are all things that are concrete. And so I would look at honesty is important. Look within with honesty. And also it's helpful to keep a journal. I kept a spiritual journal for years and years. And I look back and see, okay, that used to really bother me. It doesn't anymore. And even just mentally look back and see, gosh, that moodiness or that anger or fears are just not there as much, or maybe it's gone completely. Don't delude yourself, however. Better to silently feel Master's approval in your heart and walk in that direction.
Thank you, Dhyanaji. The next question, Dhyanaji, has two parts. One is that I feel like I go forward with spiritual growth and then go backward, up and down. So it seems discouraging. So what should we do in that? The second part is that of the science of spiritual progress that you mentioned, some we see there is a positive growth, some we see there is actually a negative side. So how do we interpret that?
The last part I didn't really understand that much.
Okay, so maybe you can talk about the first part first.
Okay, so that part, going up and down and moving forward and backward, everybody does that. I mean, at least what Master said is everybody's on the spiritual path. Some are running forward, some are jogging, maybe some are walking, and some are running, but they're going backwards. And I think a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines. It just happens. You go through a painful experience, you're not running forward anymore. You stopped, or maybe you've gone backwards. But it's as long as you feel like you're heading in the right direction, even if you stop, you're still facing up, isn't it? If you're facing down, that's when the difficulties come. But even if you go down a little bit, up, down, you're heading up. So don't get too intellectual about it. Gosh, I'm going down now. No, I'm going up. Well, I'm going back down. Just let it go. Like in a race. If sometimes you go slower than in a marathon, you go slower. Sometimes you go faster, isn't it? Isn't that so? Yeah, with swimming, sometimes I swim fast, sometimes I swim slow, sometimes I turn on my back, some on my back. I mean, but I keep going. The point is just keep going and don't analyze until you're just totally discouraged and you throw your own board out the window and your asana is gone and you say, forget it. Discouragement is a satanic force. Don't let it eat you up. Just leave it. Find something positive that you're doing and keep going on that positive note.
Sure, Dhanaji. The second part was like when you mentioned 12 signs of spiritual progress. So let's say one feels more detachment, as you had mentioned, but perhaps the willingness and enthusiasm is not as much. So how do we?
Yeah, I think go with the strengths. Swamiji always used to say, win the battles you can. You can't win the whole war at once. Just, okay, this one, I think I can handle this. Go with that. And if there's something you really want to work at, go step by step. You don't have to jump off the cliff. Just say, okay, today I'm going to work on being a little bit more happy. Some are less judgmental. The path is incremental. And so we give these signs just as signs along the way. Like if I was driving from here to Chandigarh, for example, I'd be looking for signs. Am I going in the right direction? Am I going in the wrong direction? People need some kind of signs, but honestly, I don't think about them anymore. I used to worry about them, more the inner ones. Like, am I going to see the spiritual? Am I going to go through the tunnel and the chakras are they going to open? The kundalini, am I going to raise it up and the om is going to boom? And I just thought, what is the problem here? It's self-involvement. You, drop it. And everything Master gave is to get out of self-involvement. So I started putting energy more into that rather than what if that doesn't happen? What if I don't find God? What if I don't raise the kundalini? What if the spiritual eye never opens? Who cares? It's not my problem anyway. You can't even do it if you want by yourself. It's God's grace. And remember that guy, I can't forget, Horace, he couldn't walk or talk hardly. Master said he's nearly fully liberated. And they said, God, him of all people? Horace Gray. And Master said, Divine Mother is pleased with his devotion. So look at that. That's a wonderful example. Not with he can meditate so well. Could he do higher Kriyas? Probably didn't. Did he do Kriya well? Probably didn't. He surely served up to the last breath, probably. And Dhyana Mata, could she she wrote letters from her bed to people just to keep serving, keep the energy going. She energized from a chair, She did what she could. Master would call her, and the other nun said, she can't come, Master. She's not feeling well. Sister Ganamata said, listen, when he calls, you say yes and make it snappy. I think that's the bottom line. Say yes and make it snappy. Don't think about it. Just keep moving. And as you keep moving, you find that, wow, those things are behind me now. Even if it's a little thing, congratulate yourself. And then don't stay there congratulating too long because the train's moving and you've got off just to do self-congratulation. So just keep going. And you find that what I find is there becomes a wind in your sails. And that's a wonderful feeling. You can struggle, try. And then you put in so much that your boat is going. And Master's behind it, blowing and moving it fast forward. Is that it, Natendra?
Yes, Dhyanaji.
Okay. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day. And in the chat will be the points that I went over today. Thank you all.